Just so I'm understanding, you bought it for 13K. Next door is for sale for how much?
It's sold for low 200.
Sold for low 200s. So guys, question for you. How long should it take someone to hit $1 million as a new real estate investor? Well, I'll tell you, for me, it took about 6, maybe 7 years to hit that. And I think a lot of people would say, well, Brad, that's pretty good. You did 150K per year on average as you began to learn about real estate investing. And I guess that's true, but I also think about like how much better I could have done if I really understood how to make systems work, okay? And so today we have the Apprentice Spotlight with Eran and Rachel Sivan. Guys, they never bought a piece of real estate ever prior to Investor Creator. They did $1 million net their first 14 months of implementation of these processes and these systems. So in this spotlight, guys, we do a deep dive on people's success using our processes. And we're gonna talk about the lead generation that they used, how they deal with mindset and struggles, the first deal that they did, like really their trepidation and struggles prior to Investor Creator. Because, I have to hand it to Eran and to Rachel because, they had tried Amazon before, they tried drop shipping, they tried doing an ads agency. They tried a lot of different things and they kept trying to find a solution because they wanted financial freedom for them and their family. And I'm really excited for the growth that they've had to do $1 million in 14 months where it took me 6 years. And it's very common for me, guys, to take people from absolute startup through struggle to success and have people be at my year 6 within a year, okay? And it's really just fun for me to be a part of that. So we're gonna go through a deep dive here. I think this will be impactful for your business. Be thinking about the things that you could change in your business to really replicate what's already been done in terms of what Rachel and Eran have done themselves, okay? I think this is gonna be a major treat for you. Enjoy the episode, here we go. So for anybody that hasn't come to one of these before, we like to do Apprentice Spotlights on occasion to really showcase the growth that people have, okay? And it really stems from some good advice and some really bad advice that I got in the same sentence, which was actually from my father, which was, Brad, when things are bad, they're never as bad as you think. And when things are good, they're never as good as you think either. And so that made me really discount the wins over the years where, I really should have spent more time really celebrating the wins over time. And so one of the things that we decided to do when we decided to really do the education side of things is to almost force people to celebrate the wins. And we do that through awards. Okay. So whenever somebody gets to their first 6 figures using these systems, then we give a 6-figure award. When somebody gets to 7 figures, then we give a 7-figure award. And that's the big gold record. And so we're really excited about giving those out. And we give out more of those every single mastermind. And so it's just a lot of fun to see that community grow. And so what we're going to be doing tonight is really talking about specifics of growth, what's happening in the markets right now, what we see is working, so that you can take those nuggets and implement those, really showcase those into your own business, but also to celebrate the wins that Eran and Rachel have had, and really to build belief systems. Because one of the things that I think is absolutely true is that there's more to business internally than externally. And what I mean by that is there's more to your mindset and really your belief systems, and that's going to drive growth more than what the market's doing, what interest rates are doing, who the next president is, those kinds of things. And so if we understand that, then we have to work on our belief systems. And the easiest way to work on your belief systems is to be around people that are growing, right? And to be around people that have done it. And so, I am a firm believer that the only reason that I became successful in the real estate business at all was I was around people that were more successful than me. And like I've said many times, but some of you guys haven't heard this before. I remember going to a mastermind event where my first mentor, David Alexander, shout out to David. I always try to pay tribute when I can. One of his events, and I was hanging on by a thread. It's like, I can't do this business. I'm doing like 2-3 closings a year, trying to make this work. And, looking back, it was really my belief systems that held me back. But I met Jerry Ricky. Well, I'd known him for maybe a year, but I saw Jerry at this event and I was like, Jerry, how's things going? He said, man, it's great, Brad. I did 31 deals in the past 12 months. And I thought, if I could do 31 deals my entire life, like, how is this possible? This is 10 years worth of deals for me. But he broke my belief systems down because he actually did that part-time. And one of my limiting beliefs at the time was, well, maybe I don't have time to do the business, which was literally the worst excuse I could ever give. So anyway, really appreciate Aaron and Rachel jumping in and doing this. Maybe it'll be a little bit like homecoming. So we'll just have fun with it. So Aaron, Rachel, appreciate it very much. How's things going?
Great. We're happy to be here.
Great. Fantastic. I can tell Aaron's a little bit starstruck of being in the spotlight. So we get that. All right, cool. So we'll just have fun with this, guys. And so we're going to go through kind of their story. And then at the end, you guys can jump in and ask whatever you want to ask, because I want you guys that uh, are looking to receive something specifically during this hour or so that we have together, that you get what you need. Okay. So you can ask whatever you want at the end, but kind of give us the status quo of how things were prior to real estate and really what made you get into real estate in the first place.
So we really try to condense it really quick. So my wife and I met while working for a nonprofit. We did that for 15 years, and it was really voluntary. I mean, money wasn't in the forefront. We're, young in our 20s and wanted to help and be a force for good in the world. Uh, Fast tracking 15 years, we found out that some stuff that was going on was shady. We were not happy about it. We left. I'm in my late 30s. We are at that point, and we're basically starting our life from scratch, from nothing. We moved to the Seattle area really randomly, didn't know anybody there, and started a vending machine business for healthy food.
Mm,
It picked up pretty well. It was growing. It was nice, but it's hard, very cash intensive,
Physically
and
intensive.
physical also. And then COVID hit, and overnight, 70% of our income basically was down. We basically went, we had vending machines and micro markets at universities, offices, stuff like that. And suddenly, there's nobody there. And
mm,
so, like many people, I think at that time, we started scrambling, trying to find some ways that we can invest and build a business, a different kind of business. And in that process, we probably lost, either to scams or just bad business decisions. We probably lost about $300,000, which we were not, wealthy. This was like a lot. This nearly broke us down.
mm.
We tried like an Amazon store and Walmart and digital marketing and all kind of stuff like that. Um, and I remember this one, and for me personally, I've always been attracted to real estate. It's always been something I liked. I never got around to it.
We took some courses for
Yeah,
multifamily for
a
a while.
little, yeah,
Yeah.
but never actually did anything. And then uh, at one point, I think I came across a video or something of yours, and something about it struck me. And I remember coming back home, and I'm like, to my wife, so there's this real estate thing. And she is like right off the bat, she's like, how much?
Yeah. That was like
Um, so anyway, luckily for me, she trusted and trusts me and supports me on these up until that point wild goose chases. And so that's kind of how we got started. And honestly, we we probably got our proof of concept within a few weeks. I mean, like,
So let's unpack some of that, because one of the things that you said is like, I was really always interested in real estate, but it seems like it wasn't the first place that you went to. You did the Amazon thing, the digital marketing thing, and some other things. So why not real estate first? Like, what was it that you felt like
yeah.
precluded you from doing that? Because you obviously had the interest.
Yeah, so keep in mind, we had the business, and at that point the business took a lot of my attention. So a lot of the stuff that we did was like done for you stuff, done for you Amazon store and all these kind of stuff. And I realized pretty quickly, like, you have to do it yourself. You have to have full control over it, and you have to do it yourself. Um, and so mainly because I was so busy with the vending and micro market business, I basically was looking for stuff that I can kind of put the money, and it's like an oiled machine, and it just starts working, spitting out money. I guess I'm naive.
Like a vending machine.
Yeah. Um, and then I guess the point that I started really doing the real estate, we decided we're done. We want to sell the vending business, and we wanted to do something else full time. And we realized pretty quickly that in order for our business to be attractive, for it to be sellable, it can't need me and my wife nonstop.
Yeah.
And we were kind of slaves to that business. Um, and so we started setting up processes, hiring people, automating things, so we can sell it. So a new buyer can come and look at it and say, oh, if Eran and Rachel are not around, this business is still working. And so suddenly I found myself, working maybe 5 hours a week on the business. And that's kind of when, oh, now that I have time, let's try real estate.
Yeah. So you found a guy on the internet whose name was Brad, and you went to your wife and said, honey, I found this guy on the internet, and we're going to do real estate now. So I'd love to hear from Rachel. What were your first impressions? Because I would
Yeah.
imagine that a lot of spouses at this point would have been like, my hand's gone. It's not even here anymore. So
And mind you, this is after losing quite a bit of money on on things that he really believed, or we really believed that would be great programs and such. And we were really blessed to not crumble and not have to sell off our business to pay debts and stuff like that, right? So
right.
yeah, it was nerve-wracking at first. The thing is that he drank the course. He literally stayed up at night. He would put the kids to bed and would listen to the course. And I think he did what in less than a week, 10 days or something. You were basically done. And right away he's like, okay, we're starting PPC. And I'm like, okay, well, how much, right? And at that point we were getting the place to open. And mind you, also we had 3 kids in these 8 years, right? So it was
Still have them.
yeah, we still have them.
Thank God.
Yeah. And so, between all of the experiences that we've been through, I guess it was hard to trust at first. And I can still remember
sure.
exactly. Say it again.
I said, for sure.
Yeah, it was hard. And I can actually still remember exactly where I was sitting the first time I listened to a support call that he was getting on. And I remember thinking, hold on, that's the main guy, right? Because it was you, and you were basically helping everybody, going so patiently with everybody. And I think you were an hour and a half in or something. And I remember just thinking to myself, okay, well, he seems pretty genuine. He seems like he's really wholeheartedly helping people, which was outside of the norm for us up to that point. Whenever we needed some support from the main guy of whatever do-it-yourself program we were trying to do, it was either they were going to charge you X amount of money for doing a one-on-one. It was weeks we were waiting to talk to somebody to figure out what's happening with our product or whatever. And the fact that I'm like, what, this is every other day, and there's X amount of support calls and all these things, and it just kind of honestly gave me a breath. I was nervous up to that point. And then the fact that you guided us to closing our first deal pretty quickly, and it was one of those easy, nicely wrapped up in a bow type of deals.
Yes, this one
yeah.
was. This one was. So you guys started a little bit timid on the process, but moving forward. So how quickly did you guys start running ads to get motivated sellers?
I think probably from the moment I signed up, maybe 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So I mean, that's fairly quick, but not uncommon. So 2 or 3 weeks from the time that you start, we're running ads. So how many leads did you get before you got to your first deal? Ballpark. Do you remember?
Maybe 5 to 7, maybe something like that.
Okay. So you had a lead come in. Tell us about this lead and then further on the deal.
Yeah, the first deal we had.
Yeah.
So it was two sisters. Their mom lived by herself, and I believe she fell down and broke her hip or something. She couldn't stay there by herself anymore. So she was moving with one of the girls. They grew up in this house and they wanted to sell. And I basically just went over the process, the script. And so I asked them, so how much are you hoping to walk away? And she said, I believe she said something, anything between 10 and 15,000, I'll be happy with. And I'm looking while I'm talking to her, and I see that literally the house next door sold for just over 200,000. Um, and so I kind of like, well, let me see let me see what we can do. And
Is that the best you
uh,
can do?
no, I didn't actually do that. But anyway, I got back to her for perfect presentation. We ended up putting it under contract for 13,000. And I think it was 6,000 at closing and 7,000 once I sell the house.
Okay.
Uh,
So
and
just so I'm understanding, you bought it for 13K. Next door is for sale for how much?
I think low 200s. It's
Okay,
sold,
low
not for sale. It's sold for low 200s.
sold for low 200s. And did you know immediately like, hey, this is a grand slam, or was it like, I don't
I
know.
was, I was still not sure if the right word is skeptical, or it's more like self-doubt, I would say. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that can't be. It can't be that, something like they for sure they know something that I'm not aware of. And I
Yeah.
think I went on a support call with you, and you're like, dude, the next house sold for 200. You're solid here.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the point where I started, where I felt confident. But I still remember the that period of time between, I think it was maybe 3 weeks between contract to closing on this one.
Uh-huh.
And I remember if she didn't answer me, I was like, shit, I knew it. She's ghosting me.
She's
That's it.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, but it went to closing. We bought it so we put 6 at closing. And I thought, okay, we're gonna put like 30, 40,000, renovate it, and sell it for 200, like low 200s, and then again, hopped on a support call with you, and you're like, no, dude, you're gonna sell it as is, don't touch it, don't bother with it. And I'm like, what? Yeah, like someone would buy it like this.
Mhm.
Uh, and so yeah, we sold it as is. I believe it was like 97,000. So didn't touch it. I think we owned it for less than a month.
Yeah, that was like the fastest one too. One of the fastest
Yeah,
ones.
sold it for 97,000. So yeah, we're like 80 something thousand net profit. And yeah, we went to a nice restaurant and
And then we said, hold on, it actually works. There's something to it. At first it felt like, could it be that simple? And to be fair, it was really like, again, a bow tied, beautiful deal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I keep telling people, and I know there's people in the group that and maybe even people watching this that's maybe struggle, or well, that's not how it is for me. I'm like 20, 30 leads in and nothing yet. And I keep telling people, listen, honestly, I don't know what's better. But I tell people, we got lucky. We got a deal that I couldn't screw up even if I tried,
Hmm.
uh, as a first one. But I also know that eventually everything balances out. Everything evens out. Statistic is statistic. Average is average. And so, and that might be a topic for a little later in the call. But yeah, we also following that not immediately, but we did went into, I think, what was it, like 2, 3 months of like really dry. We went to 2 periods like that.
Hmm.
One was relatively maybe 3, 4 months into real estate, really like 2, 3 months of nothing. Um, of more challenging times. So I guess this is more for people watching this and think, well, I didn't get such a sweet deal to begin with. Um, and so I think it's just important for people to know whether you get it your fifth lead like us or your 30th lead. When you get a 80,000, you really don't care if it was on the fifth or the 30th.
Well, and that's 100% true. And just to be clear, guys, like my first 3 years were not like this either. You know, like my first deal took me 8 months to get, and it shouldn't take anybody 8 months to hit a deal. But I struggled at every aspect of the business. I was terrible at everything. So some things I was worse than terrible at, and it's a reason why we had to create a process that existed outside of me, because I was not proficient in many of the things that you have to be reasonably good at to have success. So but just to recap this deal, so you bought it for 13K, 6K at closing, the balance whenever you sold the property, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got owner financing on the deal and you got price equity. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, so you turned $6,000, give or take, into 80,000, you said?
80, 83, 84, I think was like the net.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So pretty good return pretty quickly. You guys went out to dinner. And so at that point, you guys started to get a little bit of vision. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I would say the one thing worth noting that I didn't cover is how it was like challenging for me to think about marketing remotely. So the
Yeah, go
funny
through that, because this you guys were in the Seattle market, correct? And this was in Pennsylvania?
Yes, this was Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, interesting. I bought there before. So,
I lived there as
But we
well.
were never in the Seattle market. We lived in Seattle.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I joined the course, or like the apprenticeship, my initial thought, I didn't even think about doing remote. And the funny thing when I think about it is, the reason we sold the vending business is because we wanted to go remote. We wanted to, well, we both love traveling. Our families don't live near us. None of them is in Seattle. So we wanted to be free. And the vending machine was like really boots on the ground. You have a warehouse, inventory. Um, and so that was kind of the decision behind it. But when we actually went to real estate, my thought was, yeah, real estate, yeah, we're gonna do it in the Seattle market. And the Seattle market back then was like a hot market.
Yeah, crazy.
Still is to an extent, but funny enough, today I would never step foot there. But anyway, one of the first videos like that I listened to in the course, and you say something along the lines of, "Yeah, I would buy almost in every state, maybe with the exception of, I don't know, Washington, New York, something like that." And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Like I just joined the apprenticeship with the purpose of doing this, and I think actually I actually had like a little meeting with you. That was the first time we kind of talked about it, and you asked me, hey, big picture, would you
Mhm.
want to build your business, if you could do it either way, would you want to build it from the ground up, doing remote or doing local? And the answer was remote. And I don't know. One thing I kind of I feel blessed, and I appreciate, is that somehow I had zero knowledge, and I would just say, and I just thought, well, Brad said it's okay, so we're gonna do it. You
Well, you
know,
guys were very
I
trusting after I made you the first 80 grand. So at least
but
we were
that was
playing with the
before
house's money.
the first 80 grand.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that very much. And the people that do the best with us are the people that do two things. Number one, they will implement quickly, and you guys have already heard that. And then secondly, they're always really quick to ask for help, because you're going to run into a challenge. I'm not the guy that says, hey, join with us and wait on the wires to show up, smoke your bubble pipe, and wear your bathrobe. I've not found that to be real. So it is work, but it is real. And so if you do the work, you're going to run into challenges. And so you can bury your head in the sand, or what we recommend is you raise your hand for help. And as long as you raise your hand for help, then we'll be there for you to support you and get you through it. So I guess fast forward, you guys have been with me for about 18 months, something like that.
I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be 2 years in November, December.
December 22nd, we joined. So
Yeah.
now
Okay.
we're August 24th. So yeah, about maybe a little over 18,
A little bit
19.
over 18 months. And so at what point did you guys hit seven figures net?
I think it was like the beginning, I think it was like the beginning of the year, maybe February, something like that. So what is it like maybe 14 month?
14 months. So what are like the two or three biggest takeaways that you guys can give people that you've learned that you feel like you would want to know that you've learned between 0 and seven figures?
Do something.
I know that's a big question.
I would say one is I would put it under the category of length of breath, but I don't mean it financially. I really mean it mentally. Um, when you make a $80,000 deal, uh, I guess what I'm trying to say, the highs and lows can have a toll.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it can really stretch you thin. It can get to you. I mean, nobody's complaining when you close 80,000 deal, $100 deal. But when you go through a hard time, or when you know you made a mistake that cost you $100,000, you lost a deal because you were greedy, which happened to me, uh, or stuff like that. Then
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's heavy. Like I remember, you know, these kind of moments, or going through a stretch of nothing to show for. Like you make an effort, you bust your ass, and no deals, nothing.
Yep.
So I really think having that length of breath, uh, first of all, going on support calls, or like really, like you said, raise your hand, ask for help. Uh, but also like to see the big pictures, like the system works. Eventually it works. And you shared with me something that was really very, very impactful for me. You said something about that the bigger your ad spend budget, the safer you are. And it was like harder for me to understand, because obviously it seems, I guess for a lot of people starting, you think, well, the more I spend every month, the more kind of overhead I have, the more exposed I am. But really it comes down to averages.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking you, at what point do you think kind of like the averages starting to stack up? And I think you said something like around 12,000 a month or something like that. And so yeah, I guess what I'm getting to is, as you grow, and as the volume of deals that comes through your desk grows, you take less risks, you
Mm-hmm.
see more consistency, and so obviously, so that you know that's very powerful to get to that point. But I mean, obviously, people watching, a lot of people, that you can't start with 10,000 a month in budget. And so I guess what I'm saying, the road there requires a lot of strength mentally, a lot of perseverance. Like, don't give up, ask for help, stay in the game, keep on pushing, even if you don't see the results. Like, trust the process, trust that eventually, every phone call you make that is not a deal, brings you closer to the one that will be a deal.
100%, man. I always say the most important thing in this business is having the ability to last. And I feel like there's a certain financial aspect to that, but I do agree that it's more emotional, like handling your emotions. And for me, I mean, I've said this before, but my commitment was I'm going to be an investor or die freaking trying to be an investor, to the point that I'd become comfortable with the fact that if I was 95 years old on my deathbed, you know, hopefully my family's around me because I was good to them, not because they felt obligated. And the doctor comes in and says, Brad, I'm very sorry you're terminally ill. You have 3 days to live. Do you have any questions? And I hadn't bought my first house yet, that I already knew my question to him, which was, well, doctor, I hate to hear that. Is there a house that you're hoping to sell today? Because I've been trying to be an investor now for 75 years and I haven't bought my first deal yet. So I'm hoping you're the first. I'd had that roll through my mind more than once. Luckily it just took me 8 months, but yeah, I mean, it's so important, guys. Like mindset is so important, and it's almost trite because I think it's one of those things that's overused, like, oh, focus on your mindset, those kinds of things. But I've found there to be a colossal difference in outcome between the people that focus on themselves and what they're thinking about versus the people that just focus on, the next strategy or whatever. So fast forward now, what would you say your best deal has been?
Closed.
Yeah. So we have and Rachel is saying that because we currently have a deal that we're trying to sell that we probably, well, right now, if it sells as is, we're probably gonna be about a little over 200,000 in net profit.
Uh-huh.
But it's not closed yet. So as far as net profit deals closed, probably the highest has been what was it? I think 119. What was it? 119, I think, something like that.
119. What's been your toughest deal?
Toughest deal. So
Including or
we
not
have,
including the fraud.
yeah, we have some interesting
Oh, I
stories.
forgot about that. That was a Texas deal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Um, that was hard also mentally
Yeah.
because I thought, yeah, we're rich and we are.
It was January because it's my birthday, and we went out for dinner. We went almost
So
celebrating. Okay, go.
so just it was January 23. So we started in December. So just keep in
I
mind
was
how,
thinking it was pretty early. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So and so basically this deal was it seemed pretty straightforward, and all of a sudden the guy says that his wife is really sick and he needs to take her overseas to do some clinical stuff, and the guy passed online notary. He conferenced in the tenant. Basically he turned out to be,
Three days after closing, this was like a $200,000 net equity. 3 days after closing, after we buy the house, after title company, like they notarized. So title company reaches out and say, "Hey, looks like this guy was a fraud. He's not the real owner of the
bank
Mhm.
account.
property." And so we're reversing it. Really, anyway, that was a heartbreak. That was like, imagine that was like probably what, 6 weeks, like 7, maybe 8 weeks after we started.
Yep.
Um, so that was a hard pill to swallow.
Petrie? What would be your next
Yeah,
one?
Beatrice probably. So we have a deal. Again, it's funny because people ask me, not in such way. You ask what's the hardest one. People ask what's the worst one, and I think because we follow the kind of like the structure and how you put things. I think on our first on our worst deal, we ended up doing like 20 something thousand in profit when I thought it was going to be like a $50,000 profit. You
Well,
know,
we have to have margins the way that we do for when stuff pops up, like it inevitably does at times.
yeah.
So, yeah, 20K. I mean, we're not trying for 20K swings, but if that's what hits the bat, that's okay.
It's not a bad day at the office at the end of the day.
It's still not a bad day. It's still not a bad day. I mean, that'd be a lot of, I don't know what you guys sold in the vending machines, but cocoa. Well, you said it was healthy food. That'd be a lot of celery in the vending machine. So that's fantastic. So, guys, if you have questions, you can raise your hand or just hit us in the chat for any questions. I have one more question because I want to wrap this up and not be here all night because I could. One of the things that I love about Eran and Rachel is they really take away a lot of limiting beliefs for people because not only, number one, were they not US based originally, but secondly, if I remember correctly, the first time you ever bought a piece of real estate ever was that first house in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Is that right?
Yep.
So, guys, not only did they not have like a ton of time, no real estate experience, they're not from the US, they're trying to do things remotely. Like, that's a whole lot that I think most people would have go against them. So, the last question I have is this: for the people that are saying, well, I don't have time, I don't have a ton of cash, I'm not really sure where to start, I don't know if I can do this, like, what advice would you give those people?
So I think one big one um, is kind of like what you said. You know, you gotta hang out with the right people. You know, I think it was in the last mastermind. I think it was Travis. He was one of the speakers, and he was saying something like, "Imagine how many times a day your subconscious or in your mind you tell yourself, "Oh, I can't do this, or this is not going to succeed, or I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, you know, I don't have the time, the money, or whatever that is." And I think he said something like, imagine if you would go around all day long, your subconscious would say, I can do this. How amazing would it be if this happened? How amazing would it be if I could close a deal? And, you know, like, because our mind constantly says, well, what if we can't do it? What if I try? And, you know, what if I put the $2,000 I have into marketing and I never, you know, I don't see return, or whatever that might be. Uh, could it happen? Yes. But imagine if you could, like, I don't think people realize how limiting and disabling that subconscious is, you know, like limiting beliefs are, how paralyzing they are. So I think
Mm.
one thing is being conscious of that, but I guess also what I'm getting to is hang out with the right people, with the right crowd, consolidate with the right people. Like, for example, I love my dad. I appreciate my dad, but it probably took me 6 months until I told him that this is what I'm doing, because I know that this is you know, he's like,
He's risk adverse.
yeah, you can call it that. He would not take risks. I mean, he had some good salaries in his life, but he's a 9 to 5. He would work for someone else till the day he died. Um, you know, so, and for me, it was the opposite. I mean, I'd rather die than work for someone else. So, and it's funny because you mentioned kind of how what you thought about your deathbed, but I remember many times telling my wife, you know, we might die, you know, and I'd be poor and not have anything besides my underwear, but I want to know that I tried.
Amen.
You know, I
Yeah.
don't want to die not knowing full heartedly I gave it all I got. I tried.
Yeah.
Uh,
The scariest thing for me to think about is the potential that I could have done better. I mean, what a terrible legacy. I could have done it better. You know, and I'm with you, man. I mean, I'd much rather like uh fail with with complete glory, you know, like down with the ship than not try, you know. All right. Appreciate it very much, guys. This has been fantastic. Questions in the chat. First one is what was the remedy on the scam deal? So how did that ended up playing out?
we lost $11,000, something like that.
And we even had title insurance, but then that title insurance company kind of, they like disappeared somehow. And
The title company.
oh, right.
So we had a hard money lender. They were made full right after. A few days later, they got their money back. Luckily for us, the title company kept telling us, so, you know, our out of money, like our down payment. They kept telling us, yeah, we're working with insurance to get this back to you. and a week goes by, 3 weeks, 2 months, and at some point I call them, hey, what's up? And like, yeah, this title company no longer exists. It went bankrupt. Like the title company stopped doing business. And then I pursued it a little bit more, but eventually I was like, I'm just gonna spend my time making $70,000 than being busy about this $11,000.
Yeah, I mean, outside of principle, I agree. I mean, lawsuits aren't worth it over 10 grand. All right. Question in the chat. How did you choose Harrisburg as a location?
Oh, I didn't.
It chose us. No, we do marketing nationwide, minus a few small areas.
I always say when people ask me, so where do you market? And it's genuine. My answer is I don't know. You know, I tell the paperclip, our manager, PPC manager, and we have two right now, and I say just make it rain. Make
Yeah.
make leads come. And if you ask me why do you go to Harrisburg or somewhere, it's like, no, I just follow the opportunity.
Yeah. Guys, it's much, much more about the problem that can be solved than the actual property. So one of our guys, Kamal, just did a deal, 6-figure deal
Awesome.
in Anchorage, Alaska. And said it was one of the easier deals that they had done. So what was your monthly advertising budget when you started running ads?
I think we started with 2,500, maybe 3,000, something like that.
Okay, so around 2,500 to 3,000. And guys, if that sounds like a lot, it is. It's a really, really good starting budget. We have people that start off with very, very little when it comes to budget, and we have people that start off with 5, 6K per month, and everything in the middle. So if you don't have that, don't be dissuaded, let's say. All right. Title insurance, we covered that. So average monthly ad spend to get started. So Steve asked a good question. What's the average monthly ad spend someone realistically needs to get started? What we tell people is you need to have an ad budget that you can have for 5 months without it keeping you up at night, but it's enough of a budget to where you feel like you're really moving forward and investing in yourself. So, as a litmus test, ballpark $1,000. So $1,000 ad budget over time, if you work it consistently, will pay off. And then, guys, we just need one deal. So with that first deal, I'm not going to say it's an $86,000 net deal like what Eran and Rachel had. But if it's a 20K deal like I had, a 30K deal, something like that, you take that money. Now you're playing with the house's money, and you can take that and start to build a business. But we just need the first deal. See what I'm saying? So appreciate that question. Ryan said, this is so great. Awesome. Glad it's helpful. Can I do this if I've lost everything that has ruined credit? So how often, guys, have you used your credit score when it comes to doing deals?
I think at the beginning, like some of hard money lenders, they for whatever reason, they check your credit score, but they don't actually lend you on the credit because, like, I think if I understand this correctly, hard money, like they basically lend you based off the asset, not
Correct.
not your credit score. But for some reason, they do check it. Right now, we work mostly with private money lenders, so they don't check our credit score. Um, and I would kind of say to that and to the question about the budget, if I did not have 2 or 3 thousand to start with, I would start, with, I don't know, knocking doors, whatever that might be. And I think there is a lengthy class about sweat equity, or sweat marketing, sorry. Um, I think eventually, if you're consistent with your effort, you would land something. And
That's
like
right.
Brad said, that will kind of slingshot you forward. And another thing that I heard from you, Brad, also, I think in one of the first deals, funny enough, now that I think about it, I think this was in regards to that Dallas deal that ended up being a fraud. But basically, like, I think you said, I've never seen a good deal go unfunded. So I guess I'm not sure who, but whoever asked that question, if you have a good deal, the last thing you need to be concerned about is funding it. Like I've become exposed to a world of people that have a problem what to do with their cash. I did
Yep.
not know that that exists, but it does. You
So,
know,
real quick, tell the story about the playground because, guys, if you think that that finding money for a deal is hard, I want you to listen to this.
Yeah. So I was at a play date at the park with my kids and a friend of mine, and it was the summer, so I guess we were like what 6, 9 months in, and I was just sharing with her about the whole like the way it works. Yeah, it's a good story. Kind of like what we're doing, the fact that we're like basically flipping everything remotely. We're like, you know, the gist of um IC. And this lady, her kids are playing in the playground. She's like, listening, hanging around, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, are you talking about real estate? Oh, I'm starting to do real estate stuff." And she's starting to like try to do Airbnb and flipping. And she had just moved from Maui, and basically like this like really sweet nosy Nelly, right? Like just comes into our conversation, and we ended up talking for a while. And I kind of told her, I said, listen, if you ever need any help or advice or anything, feel free to reach out. And we exchanged numbers. And at the end, she's telling me about how her mom is going to be selling a house soon, and that they're going to come into some money, and that they were thinking of investing and stuff like this. And I said to her, um, yeah, let's be in touch. And I think I might have written to her once in between, hey, if you're ever around, let's go do a play date. Like really no like agenda or anything. And we had a deal. I can't even remember which deal it was now.
Mimosa Drive.
Mimosa. And we were having like our lender, like what was it?
Yeah, so we believe the value was 220-ish. Our hard money lender back then got it appraised, and the appraiser came back at like 160. And so they're like, "Oh, sorry, we can't lend on this." And I'm looking at the appraiser, I'm looking at the comps, and I'm like, man, this dude is in the wrong line of work. Like 5 mile away comps,
Yep.
like 30-year difference in the like build of the property. um like I was so confident that we're right and they're wrong that I beside, and this was like very close to closing where they told me, hey, we're not lending on this. And so we had like, I don't know, I don't remember, like
5 days a
no,
week.
like 2 days to either drop the deal or find lending, because this lady, she I don't remember the
She
circumstances.
was in a
she
bad
would not
place.
she would not like extend it. So, and
She needed the money to move into her new place
yeah,
for the down
something.
payment. She was like, and it was like an older lady. We really like our hearts were like we felt for this woman.
Hmm.
And
So
so we started like kind of thinking outside the box, where can we ask for money? And just like kind of like just took a leap of faith, and I texted her because he had posted in the group like the details of the deal. I just copy pasted and I said, "Hey, X, we were looking for, for funding for this deal, da da da." She literally answered like almost right away. She's like, "Oh, hey, I'm so happy you reached out. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get on a call."
the
She
next day she sent the money. I think
It was like a
if I
hundred.
remember right, she sent 120. I think we bought it for like 100, put 20 into it, and we sold it like we thought. I think it was like 217 we sold it.
Yeah, and so she funded it like within 24 hours. And it was like one of those huge like miracles slash like, you never know where these opportunities are going to come from. You never know
Yep.
where these conversations are going to lead. And it was really like such a relief moment there.
I love that story because it just shows that if you have the will, there's always going to be a way. And like, I want to reframe some of you guys because I know that if you don't have a ton of cash, then you can look at someone that has more cash than you as being like they have more social value than you do because they're the lender. But keep in mind, you've got the opportunity. There's more capital out there than has a safe home. And so if you have a safe home, you're actually the prize, not the capital. Capital is like the lowest form commodity in the world. Everybody has a little bit of it. Okay. But if you have a really, really good deal, that's where the value lies. And so people are going to be happy to place capital in safe places with good people. So that's what you have to be. You have to have a safe place for the capital and be good to your word. So I'm sure that she could sense that on the play date. So I think you deserve whatever you want, some kind of a prize from your husband on that one, because you brought the money on that deal. That's fantastic. So last question. Recently, you guys made a move. So Chuck Crisco asked any advice on doing deals from Costa Rica.
Have good internet. Big
So
one,
tell us about the story on moving to Costa Rica and, in 18 months going from never buying real estate to moving to Costa Rica, infinity pool overlooking the ocean. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
I mean, it's been a dream of ours for a long time, since having the vending machine business, and we've always said to ourselves, well, next summer. I remember with the vending, we see, another 2-3 years of hard work, and we'll be there. But every time, like,
COVID hit in the middle.
and 1 year passed, another, and really luckily we found ourselves in a position where finally, I mean, financially, we definitely could. We sold the other business. We didn't have that, kind of having to have the boots on the ground. We built this business remotely. It brought in the funds. So
We're still working hard.
I don't know if it's relevant to this or not, but one of the things is we joined also the Scale group, and that also helped us learn more about how to build the business, how to hire the right people. Like, I'll put it like, we can't do this from here without having employees in the state. Like, for example, right now, we can't notarize things here. We can't, sign on things. And so when we have a lot of those. I mean, this week we have 5 or 6 closings. So
yeah, we got pretty lucky with the person that works with us too. But the Scale program kind of gave us that that extra push and guidance to not make the mistakes that we might have otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also that just the fact that the kids are young, and listen, Eran is today, he literally was on the phone from 8 a.m. until
I cut my hair.
I cut his hair like 30 minutes before the call,
Nicely
so
done.
so it just because, like, we're still working hard. He's still like putting in a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of hours, but we get to do it in a beautiful place, and the kids have, more space to run around and all that stuff. So we feel pretty blessed.
I love that. So how many closings do you guys have this month?
So just to preface this is not an average month for us. This is like a new situation.
It's the new average, baby. It's a new average.
I hope. Well, I hope and I don't, because really it's hard.
Another person.
But I think like 12 maybe
this month.
Yeah.
That's fun,
man. Something around there between. I mean, we're selling 3, buying 9. Yeah, something in that area.
So you're buying 9. For me, 17 is usually $1 million. So on average. So I can see in the next year we could have our first $1 million month. What do you think about that?
That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, I'm because somewhere secretly inside, I'm like, someone needs to get like the 8-figure award. Like, someone needs to.
We've had a lot of 7 figures. We have not yet had an 8-figure. I've got someone that's about 7 million. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know who's going to be the first.
And I think also the fact that your team is now offering like to do the dispo
Yeah.
also gives a lot of relief in a sense, or like that you'll have
For sure.
more. Yeah.
But it's so funny, guys. Everybody here, or not everybody, a lot of people on this call think that the tough part is finding deals. The tough part is always going to be selling the deal, because when you have efficient marketing, one of my skill guys, Tyler Kimbrell, emailed me today that he's at 11 leads per purchase contract right now. So 11 people come in, you buy one house. Okay, you're always going to have more than 11 buyers to sell a house. And so your bottleneck is always going to be on the dispo, not on uh, the acquisition. Okay, so yeah, we have some remedies for that. But anyway, guys, appreciate it so much. It's always wonderful to hang out with you guys, and it's always so much fun to see you win. So I'm very blessed to be a small part of what you guys are doing. So thanks for coming and hanging out tonight.
We feel the same, Brad.
Yeah, we definitely feel the same. We feel blessed just stumbling upon you, Casey, the whole team, the community. It's just been an amazing experience. Yeah.
I appreciate it very much. It's we're just starting. We're just getting started. We got to get to that $1 million month. So, guys, appreciate it very much. If you need additional help in your business, we posted a link there. Just reach out to us there, and we'll jump on a call with you and see if we can help. Otherwise, I will keep the room open for a couple more minutes, answer questions in the chat. But thank you guys for being with us tonight. Y'all have a great evening.